here is Dr. Bawumia speaking in Abetifi. He talks about policy and what the NPP government has done. That's how we'll start the story. Dr. Bawumia spoke first. Later on, we'll show you what Bryan Acheampong said, and we'll show you what the NDC is complaining about. Here's Dr. Bawumia speaking.
But NPP, digital card, mobile money interoperability, digital address, free SHS, free TVET, one constituency, one ambulance, Zongo Development Fund, one district, one factory. There is so much, but NDC for one transformational policy.
That Dr. Bawumia said a few things, and that's what we're going to do on the touch screen now, and then we continue with the story. This is all from Abetifi. He said, Mahama has no policy after 30 years in politics. Dr. Bawumia, that's quite harsh, isn't it? That's very, very harsh. And I have to say these are the words of Dr. Bawumia. They are not our words. He says, President Mahama has had 30 years experience in politics with not a single policy to show. All right, what's the details? He says as follows, quote, do you know that John Mahama has been in politics his entire adult life, over 30 years. He has been an assemblyman, deputy minister to minister, then vice president, and then president. But can you mention a single transformational policy that he has implemented? That's a big one. That's a tough question. Okay, well, Dr. Bawumia sort of clarifies. He says it's a transformational policy. So he's not just talking about any policy. He's talking about transformational policy. What are the transformational policies that he, Dr. Bawumia, can tell us that the NPP have done? That's the question, isn't it? So you can ask that question and you can interrogate the NPP people about that. In the video that I played, he said a few things. But here, he says that President Mahama, after 30 years of political life, most of his adult life, he cannot show one transformational policy that he has occasioned. Other people who support President Mahama say that the policies that were occasioned by the government that President Mahama were part of should be counted as part of President Mahama's policy support to the country over the 30 years that the country has made him a politician. Well, that's the jury's still out on that, isn't it? I mean, it's a matter that we could continue to talk about for a very long time. But that's how Abetifi started. President Alhaji Bawumia energized the crowd with touting the credentials of the NPP, giving them hope that it is possible to break the 8, etc., etc. That's what they say these days, the NPPs, you know. They say it is possible. That's their new catch line and catchphrase. All right. Now, Bryan Acheampong then poked the NDC in a very major way, and that has created a bit of a problem. This is Bryan Acheampong speaking.
The party are buying to rent Kakaba 2 year Ukraine, Russia, war, COVID. Am I into 2 year day? I call from. Am I opposition? Who is Argentino? Am I 1 day a day? I call through. I'm saying, let's say, yeah, possible to know. A Biden Shishaya Bukwemu, dollar every 17, about 10. Petrol every 17, about 9. And never in air confirm economy, no Pajana Holo. It is possible. It is possible. It is possible. Yeah, made it so much. And I know my dream say, time will not near my work from no. Sad time, no, never to about. I mean, check on my ball. Shall region ball. Every June, July this year. I am a 4 about the soya fini. Yeah, 2 years I call you my economy in a peja. Yeah, 2 years I call you my dollar in a peja. Yeah, 2 years I call you my fumu. Yami. Yeah, 2 years I call you my Baino channel. NDC, Ebegu. Now, say, what do your margin say? What did the Patapa? Any person assembly about the year 2024 now. The veterans say we have the band. The veterans say we have the band. We have the band. Say about NPP party, I about band we. See about the platform so
So that was Bryan Acheampong. He spoke in Twi, but to which he says that at the beginning of in the middle of the government, the NPP had difficulty because of IMF and Ukraine war, because of COVID and Ukraine war, and that the opposition were hoping that elections will occur at the time the economic difficulties were raging. But it didn't occur at that time. He says that the government is picking itself up again, is getting the dollar back to stability, is getting the petrol price down back to stability, and he predicts that by the middle of the year, the IMF will underpin the government's efforts and the economy will open up. And at that stage, Ghanaians will see that the NPP is back on top. He says in those circumstances, if somebody tries anything, they will have the men. NPP will show they have the men, and that he said the NPP is not about to hand over power to the NDC. He said eventually, because of what they are doing in government, the NDC might collapse. These are the words he made to it. Okay, back to Dr. Bawumia's statements. He said, talking about the policy initiative. So he said that, do you know that John Mahama has been in politics his entire adult life, 30 years? He has been an assemblyman, deputy minister, vice president, president, but can you mention a single transformational policy that he has implemented? There is none. Just mention one, still quoting Dr. Bawumia, he says, just mention one. But there is none. Only doomsaw, guinea fowls. That's all. But with the NPP, we have mobile money interoperability. We have one district, one factory. We have digital address. We have free SHS. We have Zongo Constituency Fund. There is no much we have. There's so much Dr. Bawumia says the NPP has done. But Bryan Acheampong's comments outraged the National Democratic Congress, and they issued a statement and a report to the CID. So after this conversation, back and forth conversation, a video was put together with Bryan Acheampong and President Mahama. Both of them seems to be speaking in a similar tone. Here's the video.
Elections, no, it will be won or lost at the polling station.
I see.
And the polling station, they better do or die. 2024 is a critical election, both for them and for us. And I'm saying that for NDC, it's a do or die affair. And I'm sounding a warning to the NPP. We're going to match them boot for boot. We say, you better match your boot to boot. NDC has revolutionary roots. And that when it comes to unleashing violence, nobody can beat us in unleashing violence. And so I don't retract. The next election for NDC is going to be a do or die affair.
Now, sir, what did your margin say? What did the Patapa? Any question, about 2024 now. The veterans say we have the band. The veterans say we have the band. We have the band. In June, July this year, I am a 4 about the soya sini. Yeah, 2 years I call you a economy nepeja. Yeah, 2 years I call you a dollar nepeja. Yeah, 2 years I call you a fumu yami. Yeah, 2 years I call you a brain channel life. NDC ebegu.
All right, so you can make your own determination with all the videos that you've seen between President Mahama and Bryan Acheampong, who is to blame. Now, who caused some?